What up, all my fight fans? So, as we enter this new year, as we are now in 2025, we are a couple of days in, almost a week in the year 2025. I want to ask you guys this. What are some of our high hopes? What are some of our big matches that we want to see in the UFC? What do we want to see in this year? Let's name a couple of them, shall we? Let's go from the top of the list, and I'm talking about the top of the list of being the heavyweight division, the UFC's GOAT, or one of the GOATs, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. That is by far a must-see fight. You know, it's a must-see fight. I know what's going on with Jon Jones asking for more money. He wants top pay. He wants to get paid a lot of money to take this on because he'd rather face Alex Pereira. Now, we are not dumb. We all know why he wants to face Alex Pereira. Why? Because Alex Pereira is not known to being a wrestler. Alex Pereira doesn't have a wrestling background, I should say. You know, so it might be relatively easy for him to take on that fight more so than a Tom Aspinall, who Tom Aspinall is a much younger fighter. He is a much bigger fighter. He is a much stronger fighter. He has a lot more experience on the ground with jiu-jitsu, with wrestling. He has great stand-up. He has great knockout ability. So yes, odds won't be too much in Jon Jones' favor. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of bookies out there, a lot of bookmakers out there that actually have Jon Jones as a underdog going into this fight. So of course we all see why Jon Jones doesn't want to take on Tom Aspinall at this moment. Could it be a ploy? Could it be that Jon Jones is just baiting us in and he actually does want to take him on, but he's just trying to build up the fight more? We never know. But that is definitely a big fight we got to see. I won't mind down the line if Jon Jones does get past Tom Aspinall, him taking on Alex Pereira. That would actually still be a really good fight. Even though I do feel like it's Alex Pereira does have a very big disadvantage when it comes to the wrestling. But let's just say hypothetically, which is a big hypothetically, what if Jon Jones cannot get him to the ground? Ooh, that's going to be problems because, again, Jon Jones is not necessarily known for his knockout ability. Yes, he stopped a few opponents with a lot of his accumulated punches and kicks and whatnot, and his very crafty style with his knees, his elbows, his striking and such like that. Yeah, absolutely. But can he still handle a very powerful punch from a very powerful man like a Alex Pereira? You know, Alex Pereira has the knockout ability to, like, pretty much he has the most powerful puncher in the UFC, I feel, today, right now. Right now. We're not talking about Francis. Francis is not in the UFC at the moment, but all of MMA, maybe top 3 for sure. So we do not know what Jon Jones's knockout ability is, or striking power is, or what have you. We do not know what he's able to endure from heavyweights because we've seen him against a Ciryl Gane. Fight was really quick. Then we seen him against Stipe Miocic. Come on, guys. Unless you're working for the UFC, you know, as well as a lot of other people know, that Stipe Miocic was way past his prime. Stipe Miocic just did not have anything for Jon Jones at the level that he was at. If this happened about 5 years ago, maybe a little earlier than that, then I'd say different. But right now, no. He fought a much older, much weathered Stipe Miocic. So again, Jon Jones is still has a lot of unanswered questions. And him going against Tom Aspinall and possibly Alex Pereira would answer some of these questions that we have for Jon Jones. But that's the biggest fights that we could see in the UFC in 2025. Other big fights out there, a lot of, I wouldn't say as big as those, but there are a lot of fun fights. Like, I definitely want to see Khamzat Chimaev in the championship rounds. Or not just in the championship rounds, but against the championship fight, whether it be Sean Strickland, whether it be DDP. Or maybe even see him against Israel Adesanya, one or the other. I would love to see how Khamzat Chimaev is really tested. We've seen him get tested against a few others, like a Gilbert Burns and like a Kamaru Usman. Those guys are welterweights, not necessarily middleweights. But we got to see the biggest test against Robert Whittaker. Pretty much stopped him in the first round. Domination. Great performance. But there's still a little unanswered questions. How does he hold up in the 4th and 5th round? How can he hold up against guys who are just as big and just as strong as he is? Like some of these guys I just mentioned. So Robert Whittaker is by far one of the creme de la creme. Robert Whittaker by far is one of the best middleweights of all time. Definitely in the UFC's history of the middleweight division, he is easily top 10 middleweight for sure. So it made a big statement for Khamzat Chimaev to actually go through Robert Whittaker like the way he did. So it would be very interesting to see how he can handle these guys, especially in the later rounds, and especially if he cannot take them down. We've seen what happened when he was not able to stop it in the first round against Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. It did not look the greatest. You know, he looked pretty tired, pretty weathered in the third round. So no one's hating on him. We're just wanting to see what it's like we saw every other person in the championship rounds that's become a champion or wanted to fight for the championships. Some of them did great, some of them did not. So we definitely would love to see that. Light heavyweights, we just talked about. I just skipped over light heavyweights, but I'll talk about it right now. Of course, there's not a whole lot going on. We just talked about Alex Pereira possibly moving up to heavyweight. But with the light heavyweights, of course, there's Ankalaev. A little unfinished business there. Ankalaev has definitely deserved a title shot. He has not looked super great, giving us exciting fights, but still, I would love to see him go against Alex Pereira, because Alex Pereira has pretty much dominated everybody else. There is some drama, there is some beef in the streets in the light heavyweight division regarding Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira, but we all know what happened in that fight. UFC 300, Jamal Hill got knocked out first round. It was really not much of a contest. It really wasn't much a dispute knockout or anything like that. It was just a clear-cut loss. That was it. But we've seen that video that I'm sure that you guys seen that went viral, where Jamal Hill's calling out Alex Pereira at the UFC PI, and they were going to challenge each other to a fight. Did not go down. But yeah, there's some interest in the light heavyweights, but right now, not a great deal. Not a great deal. Would I mind seeing that a rematch again? Maybe, but that remains to be seen. In the welterweight division, I would love to see, of course, the guy Shavkat Rakhmonov. He looked pretty human against Ian Gary, but we got to see how he does against Belal Muhammad. Now in that division, you got some rising stars and such like that. You got some you got Ian Gary that's still in there. You got MVP who's trying to make a little noise in there as well. You got a few fighters that are trying to get some things done, that are trying to make their way up into their title fights, into the title picture. So there's going to be some interest in there, but we got to see what Belal Muhammad does. He just won his belt. Unfortunately, he got a little infection in his foot, I believe, so he couldn't fight back in December. So we got to see how he does. He looked great against Leon Edwards, and I think Leon Edwards deserves another shot down the line. He just needs to get one win away. Who knows who he's going to face, because we've heard rumors that he is going to be fighting in March in London. It remains to be seen. Maybe Ian Gary, that would be a fun fight. There's a few other guys that he could potentially fight, but not quite 100% sure if some of these guys are quite ready yet. We all know there's some veterans in the welterweight division, like a Colby Covington and like a Gilbert Burns. Those two guys should definitely mix things up. They've been kind of on the losing skid, especially Colby Covington. We've seen his performance against Joaquin Buckley. Did not look great at all. Looked slow, looked sluggish, looked like he just rolled out of bed and took that fight on. Definitely was not the best performance, was not the best Colby Covington, and who knows, maybe the best Colby Covington's days are far gone. But that remains to be seen. Colby Covington needs to stay away from these young lions and take on some of the older veterans like a Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, same thing for him. You got Jack Della Maddalena. Sorry, I'm saying that name wrong. I know he had rumored to be facing Kamaru Usman, but I think he's still injured, so he needs a little bit more time. But Jack is actually looking to get in there against Leon Edwards. So hey, you never know what might happen there. That'd actually be a fun fight. Kind of a title eliminator, kind of a number one contender fight for the future champion, for Belal Muhammad to defend his future belt and whatnot. Sorry guys, all over the place there. Of course, one of our favorite divisions of all time, the lightweights. You got Islam Makhachev already putting his title on the line against Arman Sharukian in January, in the next couple of weeks. That should be a very fun one. Armin's been looking really, really great, but I do feel strongly that, you know, Islam is going to take this one. We'll break it down as we get closer, but there is a number one contender already, and that would be a rematch with Charles Oliveira. We've seen how Charles Oliveira is, or did against Michael Chandler. Did very, very well, but then again, we don't know. Maybe the fact that Charles Oliveira did so well against Michael Chandler was just due to the fact that he was Michael Chandler has been out for so long. But there is a number one contender already. That is going to be, who knows when that's going to be, but that should be a very interesting fight. You never know, because Islam Makhachev just pretty much wiped the floor with Charles Oliveira in the first fight. It was not even a contest. There is no reason for a part two, but due to the fact there really isn't a whole lot of competition at the moment for Islam Makhachev, outside of maybe a potential match with Max Holloway, who is making his way up to the lighter weights. So that would actually be a very fun fight itself as well against Islam. But yeah, Charles Oliveira should relatively be next for Islam Makhachev or Arman Tsarukyan, whoever gets that victory. Speaking of the lightweights and also talking about the featherweights next, you got the champion of the world. You got Ilia Topuria. He has a lot of young lions in there. You got Diego Lopez. He got Imavov. He got, you know, even though he just recently lost Aljamain Sterling, he could potentially be a number one contender as well. But I don't see Ilia Topuria wanting to stick around. I see Ilia Topuria trying to go after legacy, not necessarily trying to defend his belt multiple times. You know, he's already beaten some of the biggest competition he could ever face in the featherweights. That would be Max Holloway, and that would be Volkanovski. I can see a potential Volkanovski part 2 be due to the fact that Volkanovski has a name. Volkanovski is very popular, and Volkanovski is also very dangerous as well. So that gives Ilia Topuria something to really look forward to. That gives Ilia Topuria something that he really, really wants to push forward with. As far as all the other guys, no disrespect, but I don't think that really motivates him to want to stick around in the featherweight division. He's already been talking a lot about potentially going up to the lighter weights, where he could face off guys like Islam Makhachev, or even another match with Max Holloway. I mean, there's just so many fun fights for him. I don't recommend it necessarily. I'd rather him cement his legacy as a featherweight, just due to the fact that he is a very smaller guy. And if you look at the lighter weights, like the Islams and now Max Holloway, these guys are huge. These guys are like standing like 5'11", close to 200 pounds, dropping their weight. So it would be difficult for Ilia, but you never know. He will surprise you, because he surprised the hell out of us in 2024 with the knockouts of Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. So that remains to be seen on what he decides to do next. In the bantamweight division, of course, you got you got the champion Merab taking on Umar Nurmagomedov in January, or this month, excuse me, in the next couple weeks. The undercard under Islam and Arman. So that's going to be an interesting fight, because we know these guys can wrestle. We know these guys have a lot of cardio for days, especially Merab. It's going to be a very interesting fight for me. I'm going to break it down later on, but I'm going to give you a little breakdown right now. I still want to give the advantage a little bit to Merab, because we've seen how Merab is against higher caliber opponents. No disrespect to Umar. I'm sure he tried to go against higher caliber opponents, but the only person he was able to go against was Corey Sandhagen. And with Merab, we saw him against Sean O'Malley. We saw him against Peter Yan. We saw him against Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo. So the list goes on and on and on with this guy. He's been able to stick it in there with a lot of guys. He's been able to stuck it out and handle his business with a lot of top-notch guys, where Umar unfortunately has not. So I do still think the edge goes a little bit to Merab, just due to the experience with higher caliber opposition. But as the fight gets closer, we'll definitely break that down. But there's a lot of interest in the bantamweight division. I feel like it's the second most exciting division in the UFC. You know, you still got Sean O'Malley, who wants a rematch. We could potentially get a Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen. That would be a great fun fight as well. You know, there's still a lot of up-and-comers that want to get their shot again, that want to get their chance again, but that remains to be seen on what happens as the future goes on and on. Also in the flyweight division, it seems like it's picking up a little steam, but at the same time, I wouldn't go too much on it. What I would really love to see is the former king of the flyweights return. I'm talking about Henry Cejudo taking on Pantoja and potentially having a fight with his former protege or former training partner, or the man that he has a lot of history with, Brandon Moreno. That would be so much fun, guys. That would be a lot of fun. Well, there you have it. That's my fights for 2025. I hope we get to see these fights. I hope we get to see at least some of these fights. It will be a great time. It will be a fun time. Hopefully it happens, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.